dedicated to empowering you with information
to make positive choices
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View. Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunitz, and today's topic is the health benefits of tea. And my guest is Danielle Baudet. She is the proprietor of the Cozy Tea Cart located in Brookline, New Hampshire. She is a certified tea specialist. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very pleased to have you. And it'd be great for the audience to know you are one of the first 15 people to ever be certified as a tea specialist. How many people, what do you need to do to become a tea specialist?
There's a Specialty Tea Institute in New York, in Manhattan. It's a division of the United States Tea Association. And they offer classes all throughout the year on tea. So I took about 5 years and completed all levels of certification. There's not everyone has to complete all levels, but I wanted to get as much information as I could. So there's a lot fewer of us that have completed all levels, but there's about 45 people that are certified in the country now, and probably maybe 10 that have completed all levels.
So that specialty really is unique to you, and we're very fortunate that we have you here in the state of New Hampshire.
Thank you.
And your passion that brought you to tea was because you wanted to learn about it and to help people related to what tea does for them. Tell the audience a little bit about this.
Well, the health benefits is extremely important about tea. What brought me to tea was actually tasting loose leaf tea for the first time. I actually went to a lecture here in Nashua. The Texas Tea Queen was here talking about tea, and she had loose leaf tea. I grew up on tea bag tea like most people, and when I tasted the loose leaf tea, I just couldn't believe how good it was.
So there is a difference.
There's a huge difference, especially in the processing and the harvesting of the leaf as well. So that started my quest to get good quality tea here in New Hampshire, and I went and got certified first so I could educate my customers, and education is really important to me. I continue to go to World Tea Expo every year, and I've taken over 80 seminars there on tea, and I continue to take them. And I travel all over Asia, which is an education in itself.
Now, in your travels, you literally pick the high-quality teas that you wish to have within your store, correct?
I do, yes.
So that takes effort and learning and education.
Oh, absolutely.
And so what is it that you look for to be able to bring back the best quality teas?
I focus on high elevation teas. These countries of origin, India, China, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Japan, and Nepal, those are the countries I focus on.
Yes.
They all experience rainforest type climates, so they have very hot days. But if you go into the mountainous areas, 3,000 to 8,000 foot elevation, you have cooler nights. And what that does is it slows the growth of the root system, and it produces a better tasting leaf. So I focus on high elevation teas to get the best leaf, clean air, no pesticides, and organic whenever I can source organic.
And so you have it shipped back with you, or to?
I can't take it back with me because it's too much. So,
okay, I was going to say.
I do take some back with me.
Yes.
So that when my shipment comes in, I can cup it and make sure that it's the same tea that I actually sourced when I was there.
Well, let's talk about the differences of the teas. So what would you like to start with, the black teas or which kind of tea?
Well, there's actually 6 categories of tea. There's white tea, yellow tea, green tea, oolong, and black tea and dark tea. So 6 categories of teas. It all comes from the same plant, the Camellia sinensis plant. It's how they process the leaf in the factory that changes it into a different category of tea. A lot of people don't realize that it all starts from the same leaf.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that either. So what's the difference in the processing?
Your white teas and your green teas don't go through an oxidation process, so they have a very short withering, and then they go right to the drying process. Your oolongs are partially oxidized, and your black teas are fully oxidized. And your dark teas don't go through that last step of heating the tea to stop oxidation. It continues to age. So dark teas are aged teas. You can age them for 40, 50 years. They are incredibly smooth. And during that aging process, probiotics appear in the tea. So it's very healthy.
Really? So when we speak of the health benefits of tea, which are the teas that do what for our human bodies to help us in our healing process?
So again, all tea comes from the same plant, so you are going to get similar health benefits from
Okay.
the teas.
All right.
But during that processing, it does change the chemical makeup of the leaf slightly. So your white teas are known to strengthen your immune system and fight the free radicals in our body.
Okay.
Your yellow teas contain very high levels of antioxidants. It's the antioxidants, the flavonoids in the tea that have the benefits of fighting off the free radicals in our body. The most potent one they have found is EGCG. Stands for epigallocatechin gallate. And that antioxidant is 30 times more potent than vitamin E.
Wow, and what would be an example of a yellow tea? That's what you're referring to right
Yellow
now.
tea is actually a category of tea, so it's
Okay.
a type of tea, just like white tea, it's yellow tea. We have one yellow tea, it's a yellow flower. It's very rare. They harvest the leaf first in the year in March, and it's the processing again of the leaf that gives it its own category of tea. And it's, again, well, all tea is very healthy for you, whether you're drinking any category of tea. As a matter of fact, there's a scientific symposium every 5 years in this country where they bring the scientists from all over the world to release their latest information on the health benefits of tea. And they consistently say, don't focus on the type of tea, focus on drinking 4 to 5 cups of loose tea a day,
Any type.
any type.
Any-
So if you like black tea, because a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm not really a green tea drinker, then I just say, well, what do you like? And they say black tea, drink 4 to 5 cups of black tea. You're still going to get your health benefits. Now, black teas, actually, I'll go from lower in oxidation to higher in oxidation.
Okay,
So we
please.
talked about the white tea and the yellow tea. The green teas are good for reducing high blood pressure
Okay.
and may help in reducing the risk of some cancers. Your oolong tea actually increases the metabolism in your body and aids in digestion. Your black teas help reduce the risk of heart disease and heart attack. They're also good at decreasing the likelihood of life-threatening blood clots. And your dark teas have natural cholesterol-lowering benefits. An example of a dark tea would be a pu'er. Have you heard of pu'er tea?
I haven't.
Pu'er tea is
Like P-O-O-R?
Pu-er.
Okay.
Sometimes it'll have an H after it as well, depending
Okay.
on where you are in China.
All right.
And pu'er tea is one of those aged teas.
Okay.
You can get it loose or you can get it compact. It's pressed into a brick form.
Ooh.
And I always recommend after a Thanksgiving dinner, drink a pu'er tea because it's going to help. It's really good for the stomach and aiding in digestion. So
Interesting. Interesting. Now, have we covered all the different types of teas?
those are the 6 types, yes?
So, when a person, how does one choose the teas? How compared to, let's say, you're going into the grocery store, and there are a variety of teas on the shelf, but they're more in boxes versus loose teas, but they do have some that are loose. In your store, you have all of these teas, fresh leaves in. How long does tea last for one?
So the shelf life of whole leaf tea is a year to a year and a half.
Okay.
If it's just the loose leaf tea and nothing has been added to it, it's a year and a half. Once you start adding herbs and things like that to it, they have their own shelf life, so I say a year.
Okay, and what is the best thing to keep those loose leaves in?
The best way to store your tea is in a tin, a tightly sealed tin. You want to keep it away from light, so you don't want moisture to build up in there.
Okay.
You want to keep it away from temperature, so in a cabinet is the best way to store it.
And the best way to brew tea?
Well, it depends on the type of tea.
Okay.
So your white and green teas, because they're not oxidized, you want your water temperature to be 160 to 180, and you're only going to steep them for 1 to 3 minutes.
And how would you test the temperature of your water? Because usually people have a tea kettle and they put that on, or boiling water from their water system or whatever.
Yep.
What is the best way?
Well, there are electric kettles out there that you can use, and you just turn the dial to green tea, oolong tea, or black tea, and it's preset inside the kettle. If you don't have one of those kettles, bring your water to a boil. Always start with fresh, cold water.
Okay.
There's more oxygen in the cold water, and that makes the tea taste better.
Okay.
And bring it to a boil, and then take your lid off your kettle and let it sit for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and that'll bring it down to the green and white tea temperature.
Is it good to drink tea very hot or to let it cool down a little bit?
Well, that's actually a personal preference.
Okay.
If you want to drink it hot, that's perfectly fine. But you don't want it, your black teas, you use boiling water for black tea and herbals. So if it's really hot, you don't want to burn your throat. So
Right.
you could let it sit for a few minutes, let it cool down a little bit.
So let's say if someone has cancer, is there a specialty green tea, like the matcha tea that you've told me about in the past?
Yes. So matcha tea is, they actually, in the processing of the leaf, they actually grind the leaf to a powder form. So you're actually consuming the whole leaf. You put it in your cup and you use a whisk to whisk the tea,
Yeah.
and then you consume the tea. So 1 cup of matcha has the antioxidants equal to 10 cups of green tea.
Interesting, and you just take a little bit of it.
You only need about a 1/4 teaspoon of the matcha in your cup.
And how often should one drink that?
Again, 4 to 5 cups a day.
And
Yeah.
again, for the health benefits of that tea, and that would be for what types of health issues?
So you are consuming the whole leaf, so
Right.
you're going to have a little bit more caffeine in that cup too. So that's something
Okay.
to be aware of. So rather than drinking 4 to 5 cups of the matcha, I would go to maybe 3 cups.
And are there some teas that are more decaffeinated tea related to the leaf, since they're all coming from the same?
Well, all tea has, yes, all tea will have caffeine because it's all coming from the same leaf.
Okay.
There's a couple of different decaffeination processes. The one that we choose is the CO2 method. It's carbon dioxide and water. It's a natural method, and it retains 95% of the health benefits and flavor in the tea. The tea bags that are in the market, they use ethyl acetate method, which is what they refer to as a safe chemical method, but it strips 70% of the antioxidants and health benefits from the tea.
Interesting. And the difference between the loose tea and the bag tea as far as health benefits. I've learned that in some tea bags, the tea bag itself may not be as healthy. Could you explain that to us?
Sure. The tea bags are white because they have bleach and chlorine in them. So that bleach and chlorine actually starts to break down the tea as soon as the tea is put into the bag. So your shelf life of a tea bag is only 6 months. And the tea will start to go bad. A lot of people don't realize that tea bags have such a short shelf life.
And when you say they go bad, what does that mean? Could that
They'll go
make you
rancid.
sick? They
Yes.
will. They'll go rancid.
Yeah.
So if you have tea bags and you haven't used them within 6 months, out the door they go into the
Yes.
trash. Interesting.
Yes, and you don't know, unfortunately in this, in the US, we don't require expiration dates on the tea bags, so we don't know how long they've been sitting in the store either.
Now, why is that we don't require that?
They just never passed that law. In Canada, they do require it. So
Even though it can go rancid, and what can it do to your health and well-being if you have old tea?
well, you're going to have a pretty upset stomach if
Yes.
you're,
So people may be getting upset tummies. They don't realize it's their old tea that's doing that. Wow.
Absolutely.
So I know there's a particular tea that I love that I absolutely get from you, and my clients also really enjoy it, and that's the Tulsi Stress Relief Tea. And that seems to have a combination that allows people to immediately just calm down. What is it in that tea that makes it so special, where it is naturally has the ability to help people to be calm?
So Tulsi, the other word for Tulsi is holy basil, and it's native to India.
Okay.
And many people in India have holy basil plants in their yards just for that reason. Holy basil is the key ingredient in that blend that helps you de-stress.
Is it different from regular basil? When you
It
say
is.
holy basil.
Yes, it's different.
It's
a
its
different,
own variety.
Yep, doesn't taste anything like basil.
No, okay, that's I wanted to make sure. And is it just made up of that tea or a combination of things?
Well,
in it?
ours is a blend of different herbs that we blend with it. There's 3 different types of holy basil plants. So we use different blends for that, each different blend, each different plant for that blend.
Okay.
And then we add other ingredients. There's other herbs in there just to make it taste better. By itself, it doesn't have that great a taste, so we blend it with other herbs to help it taste better.
Okay. Now, if somebody was having difficulty sleeping, what would be a good tea for them?
The Organic Nighttime Tranquility or the Organic Serenity, they have ingredients in them like catnip. Believe it or not, it makes cats go crazy, but it actually has the opposite effect on adults. It makes you tired.
Okay.
And skullcap and different chamomile ingredients like that we've put into the blends that help relax you and help you fall asleep.
Now, when you say you put it in the blends, you are creating your own special blends by using a variety of different teas as well as herbs?
Yep, we have a lot of blends that we have put together ourselves, and we have a lot of fun in the shop creating new blends. We actually just created a new one for this fall. We have our maple walnut. And
Ooh. And so what would be in that?
that is a combination of a couple of different green teas. There's walnuts, there's organic maple flavoring. We always use the organic flavorings in our blends. We start with good quality tea, so we want to use good quality ingredients.
Absolutely.
And it's got a few other ingredients in there as well.
Okay. And so for helping people go to sleep, you mentioned the organic nighttime tranquility tea, and you also mentioned a serenity tea, if I heard you correctly. Now, if somebody was having stomach trouble at all or had some indigestion, what would be a good tea for them?
The pour tea is good for that. We also have an organic tummy blend. So
Really?
we have a line of therapeutic teas that are blended specifically for certain things. We actually have one for hot flashes.
Really?
Yes.
Tell us about the different ones that you have for specific things. What types of things?
Oh goodness, there's so many. We have over 200 teas, so I don't know
Really?
that I'll be able to name them
That's
all.
okay, but it helps our audience to realize that there are specific teas and specific blends that you have within your business that actually will help them for different reasons. So let's take high blood pressure. Is there any tea that's good for high blood pressure?
Yes, the green teas are really good for high blood pressure. So any green tea really will be good for that.
Okay, so let's take if somebody has low blood pressure.
Low blood pressure, I'm not familiar with any research that's been done on low blood pressure. All the
Okay.
research that I've seen has been on high blood pressure.
All right then, no problem. So we've covered the stress component, we've covered the sleeping component, right, which are natural. Any related to heart at all, other than the high blood pressure?
Black tea is good for the heart.
Okay.
So black tea is fully oxidized, so when it goes through that full oxidation process, and all oxidation is actually exposing the leaf to the air. And it depends on the type of tea, how long that's going to be exposed to the air. You could oxidize it for 6 hours, 8 hours, some teas are 2 days, and that changes the flavor in the leaf just by exposing it to the air. During that process, there's 2 antioxidants that appear that are actually really good for the heart and good for the chest. So if you have a cold in the winter,
Yes.
it'll help break up the cold in the chest.
And
So
what type of tea? That's a
black
black
tea,
tea? Any
yes.
particular type of black tea?
any type of black
So
tea.
any kind. And so do you carry a variety of different black teas, or is there just
do.
one
We
that
have-
people go to?
We have I've never actually counted the teas, but I know there's over 200. And you can get a straight black tea. You can get a flavored tea, like a blended tea. For example, you're drinking our lemon solstice that has lemongrass in it, licorice root. That's a black tea. So we have all different kinds to choose from, and in every category. So green teas, we just have a straight green teas to choose from, or flavored green teas.
Very good. You mentioned about hot flashes, so you're talking about menopause.
Mhm.
So you have a tea for that,
We
a
do.
blend for that. What about just the regular changes of life for men? Are there particular teas that would be good for men versus women?
Tea is good for everybody.
How about children?
I highly recommend starting your children on good quality tea.
Like
whole
what?
Leaf, whole leaf tea,
Whole leaf tea.
yes.
And how would you introduce it into them to help them?
I recommend people start with the fruity ones like the raspberry or the blackberry or the blueberry because
Okay.
kids like those flavors.
All right.
And start it cold, ice it for them,
Okay.
and get them to start drinking it that way.
During the
And then-
summertime.
Yep, and then you can introduce the hot beverage to them.
And is it the same effect, cold tea versus hot tea?
Well, you do want to steep it hot first,
Okay.
and then you ice it.
Then
so
you
yes,
ice it.
you'll get the same health benefits.
So by the changing of the temperature, it still has the same. What are your favorite teas to have and that you use
Ooh.
with your family?
Wow. The lemon solstice is one.
Okay.
Our Earl Grey bergamot comes from Calabria, Italy, which is where the finest bergamot grows. So it
Oh.
makes a huge difference in the flavor of the Earl Grey.
Really?
I drink a lot of oolongs. This is our milk oolong from
Okay.
China.
Uh-huh.
And
And the benefit again of the oolongs?
the oolongs are good for increasing your metabolism
Okay.
and also breaking down, absorbing the carbohydrates in your body.
Oh, wonderful. So if somebody was having some difficulty related or wanting for weight loss, is that a good thing to use it for? Or are there
Well,
particular teas that are
There's
better?
a lot of false advertising out there that,
Well, yes,
that
that's why I'm
oolong
bringing
tea
this up.
is a weight loss beverage, but you really have to eat well and exercise. It all has to go together. It's not going to in itself help you to lose weight, but it does increase your metabolism a little bit.
Okay. What other teas? Like if your children aren't feeling well, if there a tea that you went to that you always had on stock, or there's certain teas that you would say to everybody, I would recommend you have this type of tea, this and this in your cupboard.
I would recommend having tea from each category of tea because you'll that way gain the health benefits of all the different categories of tea. When my kids are sick, I usually go to the green teas and the lower oxidized oolongs. And I add honey to it to help them.
Yes.
That helps if they have a sore throat. And if they have a cold, I'll give them the black tea. All 4 of my kids were raised on tea, and they each my girls who are living on their own have their own tea cabinets in their kitchens.
Do they really? Very interesting. So you mentioned to keep the tea in tins. So if somebody wanted to get a little of each, it's not as if they have to buy huge bags of it. They could get a small quantity
Just 1
to
ounce
try.
or 2 ounce. Yep.
1 ounce, and are there such things as those little tins to keep it in, or do you have dark
Absolutely.
bags that are sealed where they could
We
keep
do
them?
both. So it's up to the customer.
Okay.
Our bags and tins are black because they won't allow the light to get to the tea.
Of course.
The bags have a Ziploc seal on them. So either or. The tins tend to stack easier in your cabinets, so they're a little easier to store. But you can get it either way.
So it's interesting, when you just said that, I got the visual. You have your spice cabinet with your spices, and then I got this visual. If we were to really utilize the health benefits of tea, we could have a tea section of the different little tins and then use it as a go-to, as one of the natural ways to help us in our health and well-being.
Absolutely.
Which
yes.
is kind of neat, isn't it?
It is.
And it's cost effective. Is tea very expensive, or is that something that people can put into their budgets and be able to easily use?
Tea is very affordable. There are some places out there that do charge a lot of money for the tea, but it's a very affordable beverage. Our teas for 2 ounces range from $5 to $5.75, $6, and that'll make 20 cups of tea.
20 cups, 2 ounces. And again, the best way to make the tea, is it with a particular teaspoon of tea, a teaspoon or whatever for a cup of tea?
So for a cup of tea, it would be 1 teaspoon. And we recommend using the basket infusers because they're very simple to use. They're stainless steel. You just sit it into your cup,
Okay.
put your teaspoon of tea in and pour the water over it.
Okay.
But they allow the tea to really expand because they're about that deep. It really allows the whole leaf tea to
Flavor to
open
pop
up.
out.
Yes.
And how do you know how long to keep that basket in there?
It depends on the type of tea. So your green and white tea, your green teas are 1 to 3 minutes. Your whites are up to 4 minutes, depending on the size of the leaf. Your oolongs are 1 to 2 minutes, and your black teas are 4 to 5. And herbals are 5 to 7.
And will this information be on the tea?
It's on all our tins and bags.
So you put
yes.
that in so people know what to do.
Mhm.
So if people started out with tea, let's say if they didn't want to get all, because you have lots of different categories, 2, 4, 6 categories of tea. So if they didn't start out with all of them, trying them, which would be the first 3? If they started with the
I would
first 3.
say a green, an oolong, and a black tea.
Green, oolong, and black tea.
Yes, those are the most popular categories and ones people are more familiar with.
And so when in choosing that, how would they go about knowing which one? Because you have many varieties of those teas.
So when we have a new customer come to the shop or a new tea drinker come to the shop,
Yes.
there's a series of questions that we ask them to narrow it down.
Okay.
First, we ask them what type of tea they want to drink. Once we narrow it down to the type of tea or the category of tea, then do you want a tea with blended tea, something with flavoring? Do you want sweet? Do you want spicy? So there's a whole list of questions that we help narrow it down to a certain amount of teas. And we have sniffing jars, and they can just smell the different. We narrow it down to about 4 or 5, and then they smell the different teas and choose.
Very
that way.
good. And I know you also have little tasters too when you have certain teas that are there.
Yep.
So to summarize, the health benefits of tea. What would you recommend for people in their understanding of tea, of the types of teas to look for their health and well-being?
They should focus on whole leaf tea.
Okay.
The reason I keep going back to that is the harvesting of whole leaf tea is the top 3 leaves, the newest leaves on the plant, so you're going to get the most health benefits out of those.
Precious, yes.
Tea bag tea is harvested by machine, and they take the top 8 inches, so you get a lot of old growth in there. So you're not going to get the same health benefits in a tea bag tea. So whole leaf tea, good quality whole leaf tea, clean tea.
And how do you know it's good quality tea?
You talk to the tea shop owner,
The
and
tea
they'll
shop.
tell you all about it.
And you have a website that people could learn more information about tea, correct?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's www.thecozyteacart.com.
And what are the things that they can learn on your website?
We have a whole list of frequently asked questions, some of the information that I talked about today, so they'll be able to see that on there.
Wonderful.
We have an events page that lists all of our upcoming events for the shop,
Yes.
and we have all our teas listed on there. There's articles and videos on there that they can watch of shows that I have been in talking about tea.
Excellent. So that they can really utilize your website as an educational tool for them to help them to understand a little more about tea before they even come into the shop.
Absolutely.
And the staff that you have at the Cozy Tea Cart, they're all educated in tea?
They, every year, they have to take a training. And even if they've been trained the previous year, they have to sit in on the training because it's always good to hear it multiple times. So everybody has been through training and understands the questions on how to help people find the tea that's best for them.
That's wonderful. So people can have peace of mind to know that by coming to your particular shop, they will be people who are educated in that area. So the website again is?
thecozyteacart.com.
Excellent. So we encourage people to look at that website to learn more about the health benefits of tea and also to realize the number of events that you have going on all year long. And I know that you do a lot in the community on educating about tea, and I want to very much thank you for that, because the more we know to empower ourselves about the benefits of tea, the better. And I also know that tea can be used in cooking too.
It can, yes.
And so they can learn more about that on your website.
Absolutely.
This has been great. So there are 6 types of teas. Let's quickly conclude with them.
White tea, yellow tea, green tea, oolong, black tea, and dark tea.
Excellent. We thank you so much for being here. And again, they go to what's the website?
thecozyteacart.com.
Wonderful. We wish you a wonderful day and look forward to next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.